This is Arthaus. This is Tiger. Today we are with the real estate god, Callicrates.
What's
And,
up?
we're here today to probably not talk much about real estate, actually, but we're going to open up with something very important, something very near and dear to my heart, something that a lot of the guys struggle with on a daily basis. And that's the maxim of that you need to stop being a loser, right? Stop being a loser. So, Callicrates, what does that mean to you? What does that mean exactly?
I don't know. I mean, it's just really, it's
I don't know.
it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just, you look at people on the street, you just get tired of what they're doing. Just stop being a loser. Like, it seems so easy when you think about it. Just people just are unable to do it. It's kind of odd, but
I think it's a comprehensive term, honestly. It's just a comprehensive, intuitive term. You just know when you're looking at someone, you're like, that's a loser.
oh, and I mean, the person knows it too. Like, you know if you're a loser or not. It's like it's blatantly obvious. Just embarrassing. So I don't really understand how people go through life like that. But it's just, I think one day I was just like, wow, like there are just so many losers. Like, this needs to stop.
Were you born a loser, or were you always chill, and then you just like ascended?
It's I don't know if you see my feed, but I'm a pretty big fan of genetic determinism. It's pretty obvious if you're genetically gifted or not.
Yeah.
And the only people who make arguments that it doesn't matter are people who aren't genetically gifted.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare you see someone go from being a loser to being cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very rare. You almost never see it.
Yeah. I mean, part of it's just the drive, like you can make a lot of change, but part of it, if you just don't have the drive, if you don't even know where to start and you don't care where to start, then you're just doomed immediately.
Yeah, I mean, your personality is pretty much completely inherited too. So you could do a little bit, but you can't do much.
So you don't think that? So you're very genetic heavy in terms of like how you think humans develop.
I think you're born with a range. So say the average person is born and their range is at like a scale out of 100. Say it's 20 to 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they can crush and get to 50, but they're never going to be at 100.
Right.
Whereas someone else like who's, say, someone with like 140 IQ, attractive, everything, they could be from 20 to 100. They could still end up being a 20 because they could just fuck up their entire life, but they have the potential to get to 100.
Right.
Most people don't have that at all.
Right.
So it's really a range. It's not like you can't do it overall. You could definitely get better. I'm not saying you can't get better, but you're never going to be elite if you were born not elite.
Do you ever walk around and just think like, what if everybody tried? Like how much better would everything be? Just looking wise, aesthetics. Like what if just everybody tried their best? Maybe they only got to 50, right? But what if 50 was like the bottom?
I mean, I think that's what it was like before, I would say, recent times.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you look at just pictures back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it's so clear how much people cared and just how much, just everything, it's just so much more aesthetically pleasing. And there was much more drive than there is now.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, the whole obesity thing, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Cause I grew up in the time of obesity, right? Like that's just what my life was. And so I've never experienced a time where there wasn't just an absurd amount of fat people walking around. I kind of got normalized to it. I'm just like, that's what it is. And if a lot of people just aren't thinking like that, like they aren't thinking that, oh, I'm getting normalized to this. They're just thinking this is how it is. They're not thinking that this was all conditioned and all made like this. That's scary because then there can be like, well, you can't change it. Can't change them. It's just how it is.
Being fat's the worst. It's so disgusting. I don't know how. There should be a executive order just against that in general. Should just be government mandated prison sentence.
I legit, like, here's the thing. There's so many, it's an issue that can, you can do a couple key things, and just fix it really quickly. But, there's the big food in the way. Big food and the incessant drive to consume that are in the way of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't think of an excuse for being above 20% body fat. Just like, It's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand not everyone needs to be 8% body fat, absolutely ripped, and no one ever will be.
I feel like having low body fat might not be like great in the long run. Like if you're like 6% all year round, that might not be optimal.
No,
I feel like our ancestors had a bit of beef on them.
that's not natural. And usually those people who do that are usually cycling. They're never just at 6% all year round.
Yeah.
Even if you have I had a ton of friends who played sports and they were really low. And as soon as they'd finished playing sports, I mean, they don't get fat by any means, but they're no longer at 6%.
Oh yeah, they kind of get puffy. Like
Yeah, I mean,
I have friends that did football, and they just like like they still trained in the gym like 3 days a week, just doing like weights, but they just kind of got puffy.
yeah, it's not even puffy. I was never skin tight. I was probably always between say 8 and 12. I would never go anywhere below 8.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just get down there. But as soon as they stop playing sports or stop burning 5,000 calories a day, they're not fat, but they're at 10 to 12% instead of 6 to 8%.
Yeah, yeah, man. Do you did you play sports when you were in high school and college and whatnot?
I played in high school as 3-sport athlete, captain of 2 teams, and then had a career-ending injury, so I just never played again.
Career-ending injury. Damn, that sounds familiar.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. No, we could just bring it off on a tangent on that because I think that's interesting. Do you think that sports aid a kid's, direction in a positive way, like growing up and doing those with a bunch of other guys?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't trust anyone who didn't play sports growing up. That's one of the biggest red flags. Anyone who didn't play sports is immediately writing them off. And you could tell. I mean, I think it was my junior year of high school is when I had my knee surgeries,
Yeah,
which just completely blown out. And after that, I mean, it's a huge difference. It was just a huge transition from going to, I mean, I don't know what I played, maybe 2 hours plus of sports every day to not being able to do that. Your mentality changes a lot.
yeah,
And you have to funnel your competitiveness in different ways because you can't be competitive with a fucking knee brace on, right? You're just a clown.
yeah.
No one can take you seriously.
Well, that's what I realized. Like when I was out of high school, about say I graduated at 17. When I was early when I just turned 19, I realized I had a deep revelation one night. I didn't do any sports because I was a pussy. That was my biggest thing. I just didn't want to do it because I was lazy and I was a pussy. So I got my ass in. Well, I mean, I was lifting for a year and a half before then, but I was I need to do something that's hard and that is group oriented and whatnot. So I just got into kickboxing. I've been doing that for the past 9 months. That's been great. And I strongly suggest anybody that just needs to get that sport feeling that they had in high school, but no longer has that camaraderie because the work life and whatnot, go to a martial arts studio. It is one of the best decisions you'll ever make.
Are you fighting against people in the kickboxing? How's that work?
Right now, well, it's been shut down for a month, so we can't do anything right now. We were sparring occasionally, but a lot of it was making sure before you go out and try to strike somebody that you don't hurt yourself and you're able to hit a bag and not fall down, break something or whatever, and you're able to take a punch in a controlled manner before you go stir crazy with another guy. And I was between that striking or jujitsu, and I decided to go with striking because I wanted to get punched in the face, and you can't really do that with jujitsu.
Jiu-jitsu is mostly wrestling, right?
Yeah, that's like submission, slower paced submission wrestling, and then wrestling is more just rushing at each other and fucking, getting the guy on the ground first. And one of the things that this that kickboxing taught me is getting punched in the face. that is the best lesson that you can learn, I think, as a guy when you're young. Just getting hit really hard, you're just it just changes your mentality on things big time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, thinking back, I mean, I've never done martial arts, but I don't
Mhm.
think I've ever been in I've been in like scraps, but I don't know if I've ever been directly rocked in the face.
Yeah. You probably getting like crushed, you know. Did you like football?
I didn't play football, no.
Okay.
Well, I played at one point, but it wasn't one of my major sports.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think just like getting under physical stress, duress for a period of time, that's like you have to do that as a guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's easily, there's a massive difference between when you're playing sports and when you're not. You can just feel it mentally.
Mhm. Yeah. Using your like especially if you're like if you work all day like either sitting or something like that, like you need to do something that's really explosive and really like really puts your body into deep stress. Do
Yeah,
you
no, I agree.
do you like in San Francisco, like what's like your work schedule like in that city? Do you have time for like things outside or you mostly just focus on your job?
It depends. I mean, New York's way worse. So I was working in New York before this. It's way worse. It's not even close. Like you probably pick up 2 or 3 hours in your day just from working less in San Francisco.
Mhm.
Just because the culture and everything.
Yeah.
But it's also you get in. I mean, you're 3 hours behind New York, which is still the center of business pretty much anywhere.
Mhm.
So you get in and you have a shit ton of stuff, right? So you get slammed, like you get emails like 6 a.m. You're getting slammed, and then once it gets up to like, I don't know, 5 or 6, it really starts petering out because everyone in New York is leaving, going home.
Mhm.
So it ends up being a little better, but it's shifted up. So instead of waking up at New York, you wake up at get in there at 9 o'clock. Here you get in at like 7.
That's an interesting thought. I never like because you're in real estate, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, time zones must be really important in terms of like making sure calls are on time, deals, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little lucky that it's not anything with public markets because then it actually matters.
Yeah.
In real estate, it matters, but at the end of the day, you're never surprised by a transaction. Like these are
Hmm.
planned months ahead,
Hmm.
so it's very rare. You're like oh fuck, like I need to wake up at this time for that. Like that doesn't happen as much.
Now, do you do like what do you specialize when it comes to the real estate?
Um, Definitely office. We do a lot of office, a lot of hotels, some multifamily. Retail's included in a lot of our office buildings. Pretty much no industrial.
Those
Yeah.
how have you seen office get hit with the corona office and hotels, right? Those two must be getting rocked right now.
So I mean, hotels got fucked, but anyone with a brain could have seen that coming.
Yeah.
I've tweeted a ton on my other account as well about how shitty hotels are as an investment.
Yeah.
Office really, it hasn't been bad yet. There's a ton. It really depends who your tenants are,
Hmm.
but and how much security deposit you have, your letters of credit, all of that. And we happen to have a lot
Hmm.
of security. I mean, really, where you get screwed is a lot with the retail in the office buildings
Hmm.
because those are the two hardest hit areas so far. It's hotels and retail.
Hmm.
Um, so if this goes on for another 2 months, like yeah, everything's going to be in a lot of trouble. But as of right now, your well located office buildings, they're not in that much trouble.
Looking to the future with this, do you see commercial retail getting hit in after this coronavirus thing with more people do you see more CEOs going like, hey, we could just like save the rental space, you know, save the rental cost of having this office and just have everyone work from home. We don't need this. We could just go online with this. Do you see that happening?
Somewhat. I mean, it's already been happening for years at this point, that
Hmm.
transition. So I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the one catalyst that changes it.
Yeah.
I will say retail rents have just gotten hammered in the past, let's say 5 years.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of spaces. We'll underwrite a deal, and we underwrite the retail rent is like zero almost.
Hmm.
So even if it leases up, it's like gravy. Um, I think hotels will be changed permanently. They've always been just a piece of shit asset class, but I think people are actually going to require a higher rate of return at this point, which is the higher cap rate
Yeah.
in real estate terms, just because I mean, it's insane.
What specifically makes hotels really shitty?
There's it's a really long list.
What okay,
Essentially, it's like you're running.
what's like one thing?
Essentially, I mean, just think about it on a very very basic level, right? Say an office building, right? You're leasing it out for 5 years or 10 years, right?
Right.
A lease term. a multifamily building you're leasing out for a year or maybe 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everyone usually signs a year lease. Hotels, every single night is a new fucking lease.
Right.
Like people don't think about it on that scale, but you're essentially running a business inside a building. The real estate's really secondary.
Yeah.
There's food and beverage outlets that are food and beverage is one of the worst businesses you could be in aside from hotels. So you couple that with the hotel, it's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
You also the huge issue is who's running it. So in an office building or multifamily building, the manager on site really doesn't matter at all. Like you can just have a retard running it, and it really doesn't matter. Like they don't do anything, right? They don't drive anything. They're like the tenant will call them and be like, "Can you fix the leak?" And they'll fix the leak. Whereas with a hotel, you have everything, right? They're managing the housekeeping staff, they're managing the front desk people, they're managing the sales. You have to figure out what price to charge for each room for every night. That changes when you switch up the revenue forecasting. There's everything. It's a massive business. There'll be hundreds of employees they're managing. Whereas office building, one employee, right?
Yeah.
You could have, maybe if it's a massive building, you have a couple employees there, but they're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have things like this, right? Because the lease term is so short, when a negative event happens, you have no time to react, right? Everyone can leave the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're fucked. Your occupancy is zero. For our office buildings, no one can leave. I mean, technically they can go bankrupt and leave, but we have security deposits that we can take.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll still get hit, but say we have 6 months security deposit, we have 6 month leeway. And you could lease it back up in 6 months. Whereas a hotel, you're just fucked.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in New York right now, it's changed a bit because people are leasing up to emergency workers and all of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a point you're down to you're leasing up 3 rooms, right? Like there's no one there, right? No one's gonna come, and you have no revenue.
We know we're family friends with a guy that he runs the big hotel like right next to Disneyland, and he's like one of the best Hiltons in the country in terms of just daily traffic. And they're doing a plan right now where they're not going to reopen back at 100%. Like they're going to start at 10 and they're going to do this for 18 months. Like 10%, okay, 10% occupancy, like we'll only light 10% of the hotel, only do this. And they're going to slowly build back up to, 100%, hopefully in 18 to 24 months.
I'm surprised he's doing that because the margins are so bad that at like a 10% occupancy, it's not profitable to run. So it's like almost better to be closed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the details, but just the fact that they even have to consider that instead of just reopening straight up means like they're going to be at a deficit for a long time. Like that's going to be awful.
Oh yeah, no, every single hotel in the country is going to need a capital call.
Yeah.
Or to be sold, or a ton of. I mean, in New York City, for example, before coronavirus hit, I think it was 40% of hotels had negative NOI or EBITDA. EBITDA is probably more relevant to you guys, but NOI is the real estate term. Yeah, it was 40% were already negative, and that's before debt service, right? So like, who knows with like maybe 20-30% were positive after debt service. I mean, it's a horrible asset class.
Horrible asset class. I'd assume you'd say don't get into hotel investing right off.
I could not recommend enough not getting into hotels.
Okay. So if you're a new guy, right, and you're like, a little bright-eyed kid comes up to you on the street and says, "Callicrates, what do I do if I want to get into real estate?" What do you tell them?
So it's a difficult question because it all depends on your risk profile. I get this question maybe 5 DMs a day on my real estate God account, and there's no good answer because if you want to sit on a like low cash flow and have no very low risk, you can do that, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean like if you're 20 years old, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I think you should be shooting for 20% plus returns if you're this young. I mean, if you're older and you have $10 million in the bank, sure, you can get 5% returns. No one really cares. But it really depends on your risk profile. Overall, I would say you probably want to be in multifamily initially and then branch out from there just because it's the easiest.
That's what I've heard too, is that like you buy a fourplex, you live in one of the rooms, and then you just get cash, and then you get another loan, and then you just repeat the same process.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly doable. I think what people do with that is FHA loans, which I've never used, and it's really not it's very below institutional level. But I think you can go put as low as 3.5% down, which is pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah, so you don't really need much starting capital for that.
I mean, yeah, you need like 20K gets you in most areas of the country. You could probably get a good fourplex, right? 3.5% down
For 20K, just 20K.
I mean, you think, yeah. I mean, well,
Wow.
it depends. Obviously, in a major city, you're nowhere close, but most areas of the country, you could probably, yeah, maybe a few 30K unit, you could probably get it.
See
We don't really invest in those areas, but yeah, it's definitely possible.
that's the thing. Where I'm at, real estate's so expensive that like when I hear people being like, "How to wholesale? Like find the home for $20,000." I'm like, there ain't no home for $20,000 where I'm at. What do I do?
Yeah, you have to.
Like, do I
Yeah,
move? Do I have to just go to
that,
like buttfuck Alabama or something and find like these 10K shacks?
I mean, yeah, that's how most of these guys are doing it. The easiest way to do it is get outside of commuting range of a major city,
Yeah.
and then once you're there, you'll start finding deals that other people aren't looking at.
So like in the suburbs and stuff.
I would say probably once you get 3 hours plus outside
Mm-hmm.
of a major city, you're in good shape, right? And the thing that's good about that is you can still drive to the locations
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I mean, it sucks, but you can still get there.
Yeah.
Which you kind of need, at least initially. You don't really want to be investing across the country if you have no idea what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah. Right. Do you see when it comes to like college towns? Because I hear a lot of people say like, oh, like, you can buy a home near a college town and you know rent it out for $800 a month to four kids. Like, have you ever done something like that?
Um, Similar. I haven't rented it out to college kids yet, but I could.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton of issues with that. A lot of it depends on when you buy the asset and how you plan for it, because their lease up cycles are on certain times of the year. So a
Mm.
lot of times if you buy at a certain time of the year, it could be 6 months before the next lease up cycle, and you can't really keep it vacant for 6 months unless you plan for that.
Yeah.
So there are actually a lot of things that go into it, and obviously you have to up the capex budget and a ton of things. But I'm thinking about doing it, but I also kind of would prefer to stay away from college kids anyway.
Yeah. I feel like college, that's like a sketchy market just because the market itself. Like, I mean,
Well, my issue is like I don't really like I'm never gonna rain on a college kids parade. Like I don't give a fuck what they do in there. But as a
yeah.
landlord, I do have to give a fuck. So it's like it's just an annoying situation. Like I don't really care if they're throwing a banger, but as a landlord, I do have to care about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the problem. You have to balance both of that. So if say okay, how about this? This is a fun question. Say somebody gets the $1,200 Trump bucks, right? And they're not going to go buy booze and food. They want to go and they want to put it towards themselves. Maybe not even real estate, right? They just want to put it towards themselves. How would you spend that money if you had 1,200 bucks and you were at zero, but you had immense drive and you wanted to do everything?
This is one of the situations where it's just not enough money to do anything. You just seriously, you just have to save it. It's like that. I think there's this Stanford I don't know, maybe experiment or something,
Yeah.
where they were all given like $500 and they're like, all right, see what you can turn this into in like a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the winning team just didn't disregarded the $500, didn't buy anything with it, and then just rented out their time as like consultants. Like it's like $1,200 isn't enough to do anything. You need to, I don't know, maybe buy a book and like a nice bottle of wine and think about what you want to do with your future. I would say that.
See, the funny thing is that it was like Gary Vee had asked a question: if you had no money, like how would you become a millionaire a year? And he was like, I'd go find rocks and I'd paint them and I'd sell them to suburban moms. And it's like, dude, what the
Who
fuck?
said this?
Gary Vee or something?
That guy's such a clown.
Yeah, dude, like that reminds me. Actually, this is the thing I want to cap off on before we head out. Grant Cardone is getting wrecked, apparently. Do you have any insight? Like, because a lot of us just see like, oh, he's has to lay off people. Like, do you have any insight from like a business perspective, or like he does real estate, right?
Yeah, so like
Yeah, from a real estate perspective, like, what's going on with him?
first things first, like I fucking hate the guy. Like I think he's such a scumbag.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, everyone's actually overreacting. I think he's really over leveraged. He's taking advantage of non-accredited investors. I think the SEC is going to be up his ass. I don't think he knows what the fuck he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a different story. He also rips people off on the promotes, which is how you get paid in real estate private equity. So he rips everyone off on the promotes, rips them off in management fees. That's how he makes all his money. He's not actually like a good investor. He's just taking your money from your pocket into his pocket.
I remember that there's that Jordan Belfort interview. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I just caught like a couple snippets. And Jordan Belfort's like, sales track, blah 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 blah, blah. And then Grant Cardone's like, yeah, I do that too. Just like he's like so scared to actually like talk about anything in depth. It was really
he has no idea what he's talking about. He's an idiot. But in this scenario, I think the blowback was one, that he wasn't paying investors his guaranteed dividend, which no one's paying investors right now. That's a smart thing to do, is not pay them and keep reserves just in case anything happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's people arguing against that are retarded. Like, that makes no sense. Yeah. It'd be just irresponsible to pay out dividends right now. Yeah. And then the other thing was that he fired people. I don't know his financials. I'm assuming that actually it's kind of difficult to even. He said the multifamily portfolio was like 90% of people paid rent, and I'm sure he pays almost his entire staff off management fees, which should still be coming in. So I really don't know why he fired people. It's kind of odd.
Could that be tied to like
I don't really know
SEC stuff that is going to come to light, you think?
I don't know for sure. I think anytime you get around non-accredited investors, the SEC hates it. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those areas that's not worth it to mess around. There's a reason why no one messes around it unless you're really on the up and up and really know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also think his promotes and everything, and who knows what he's like, his sales tactics and all that. I'm not saying there's definitely something illegal. I'm just saying the fact that he's deployed this much capital and has no idea what the fuck he's talking about is a horrible sign. It just doesn't smell right.
Yeah. And the whole Scientology thing too. That doesn't smell right either.
That's probably the least of his worries.
You must have some pretty big worries, if that's the least. Callicrates, it was great to have you on. You have one thing you'd like to say to the people, the good people that have watched this and will watch this in the coming weeks, months, years, decades, eons, and millennia?
Yeah, get off Twitter, go outside, go have some fun.
It's pretty good. Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys, this was Arthaus with Callicrates. Thanks for the insight on real estate and not being a loser. And we're going to be hopping off here right about now. Talk to you guys later.